Welcome back once again to LocoFi. With having gained a lot of experience in installing LocoFi modules over the past few years in several locomotives, it was time that we came about with a really easy to follow step-by-step guide to installing the LocoFi module in a DCC ready locomotive. This video will make the installation process of installing the LocoFi module in a DCC ready locomotive really simple and easy to follow. This is obviously going to be complemented by our quick start guide, which is regarding the installation, and the same steps would apply pretty much to regular DC install or even installing in a steam tender, for example. So for today we have chosen uh, an Athens Genesis, our absolute favorite, Southern Pacific GP9. So let's get started. First things first, we obviously need the locomotive and the LocoFi module. We have chosen the LocoFi 3 DULLHP to be installed in this particular locomotive. Apart from the obvious, we'll also need some LEDs, some spare wires, maybe heat shrink tubes, and possibly the mount for installing the DULLHP, which simply makes the installation easier and much quicker to install. Requirement for the mount depends on the space inside the locomotive and any particular uh, reason. For example, installing in a blue box kind of a locomotive. So we have these mount points built into it that kind of sit on top of the motor and makes the installation really easy, because blue boxes in particular don't really have like a flat base where you can put the decoder. So this is probably optional. We may or may not need it. We'll open the locomotive and see if we actually need it. Now for the remaining things like the LEDs, the heat shrink, and the spare wires, the good news is that it all comes part of the package when we ship the module to you. So you don't really have to go around looking for, a particular sized LEDs or some wires or heat shrink tubes and everything. So all you need is a soldering iron, the solder, and maybe some flux. You may also need some tools like a pair of tweezers, maybe some cutters, and some wire strippers, or possibly Captain tape. Some other tools that may be needed, maybe a screwdriver, maybe some plastic pries, possibly some no-lint tissues, and isopropyl alcohol to clean up any flux residue or just kind of keep the area clean, especially the joints around the wires. So let's get started. Please refer to the manufacturer's documentation for your particular locomotive on how to pry open the shell, take it off. For example, in our case, we have this big warning how exactly to handle the locomotive so that we do not damage anything. With this beautiful model out of its cover, we are ready to figure out how to take the shell off and then go from there. For this particular model, we had to just simply take the couplers out and shell would slide right off. This is how it looks from inside. It's got a DCC ready light board, which obviously we are not going to use, and you're just gonna get rid of it and simply replace it with the LocoFi module. It's as easy as that. All we need to do is figure out the different wiring and attach it to the LocoFi module instead. Okay, some parts kind of came loose while handling the shell, which I'm gonna attach later with some plastic cement. So now all that remains as far as installation is concerned is wiring it up and trying to see if mount even makes sense, or maybe you can just simply mount the module directly. And the most important part actually is trying to figure out what wire goes where. Now this is what I'm going to be talking more about right now, because that seems to be the biggest cause of confusion. Now, to test which wires are going where, for the DCC ready board, it's pretty simple, because the DCC ready board is wired up to work with DC power as well. So what we need to do is simply take this dummy plug off so that there's nothing connected here, and we just connect like a 3-volt battery quickly. I'm pretty sure that this is wired correctly, but just as a test, since it's wired to the rear lights, the red and black, just connect the the battery, the 3-volt battery directly, or if you have a higher volt battery, use a small resistor such that the current does not exceed like 20 milliamps, and connect those and see if it all lights up. Similarly, the same thing needs to be done here. One additional wire is for, it's marked as F3, probably a function, which we are not going to use for now. We're just gonna wire it up along with the other lights. And as you can see, these are the two wires going from the motor over here. So we just wire them up as it is, and the power wires are going here, and that we need to wire. So it's all marked on this board, so we just look at the positive, like the track right to track right, the red wire of the LocoFi module. The track left goes to the black wire of the LocoFi module. The motor red goes to the orange, the motor black goes to the gray, and the front light, let me just double check the polarity here. So to test the polarity, what I'm going to do is use, let's say, a 9-volt battery with a 1K resistor. I'm not using any no alligator clips or anything. It's just a simple test. I connect the red wire to the red and the black through the resistor to the black, and I can see the LED. If you see my pinky, it's kind of lighting up. So it shows that the red is actually the positive of the LED. So that needs to go to the white wire of the LocoFi module instead of the blue, and the black wires go to the blue wire of the LocoFi module. The same is the case for the rear light. The yellow wire needs to be wired where the red wire is. So we connect the yellow wire to the red wire. We just take this board out, and we use the blue wire to connect to the black wire here. So let's just solder up these connections, fit the module on top of this, and it's all done. We got the LocoFi module out of its package. We tried to see if the mount will fit. It actually is barely longer, so we're gonna skip this. This is anyways probably not gonna be very useful in the Athens Genesis. So all we're gonna do is mount the module maybe like this, and just kind of tape it here and put the speaker somewhere around here. We just have to be sure that the wires do not get tangled with the this flywheels, and that's all we need to take care of. So we'll first start by wiring the track left, which is these two ends here, together and to the black wire. So simply slide these plastic tabs out. That you should be able to simply take the wire out. Similarly, take the wire out from here, and once we have them out, we just need to we'll use some spare wire to connect them together and to the black wire. Actually, since this wire is pretty long, I'm just gonna cut this wire itself and use it as a joining wire between these two. Because the primary purpose of this video is to make the installation easier for you, what I'm going to offer mostly as part of this video is some tips, and that I've gained over the years with some experience. So one of the tip is to as you're doing the installation, first important thing is to plan the install, in the sense what component will go where, which basically is the module and the speaker itself. So after trying to do various kinds of fits and the amount of space available, vertically, you need to measure the vertical clearance as well to make sure there is no issues later on. Once you have ensured that the module is going to fit nicely, and so that none of the wires are kind of coming in the way, they're not like too coiled around, and they're just more like straight, so that they don't break. Once you have all of those things figured out, all the logistics, then try to place each and every component and try to kind of at least lightly hold it down with some kind of a tape. So that way, um, the components or the wires, they will not kind of move around like together, cause some kind of pulls and tugs, and you don't have to restart everything all over again. So what I've done, for example, here is take these two motor, not the power wires over here, kind of before I put the speaker, kind of put some tapes here to kind of hold the speaker, and routed the speaker wire from around this particular tab so that it's not in the way and it's not on the side. And as I'm wiring this, I you need to make sure to put the heat shrink tube first, otherwise you will have to redo the joint. So always remember to put the heat shrink tube first and then join, so that you can slide the heat shrink tube over. And once I have this piece of wire here, I'm gonna use the space below the module to kind of route all the wires, because there is these tabs and notches and there is some screws here. The module is kind of gonna sit on top of these, and there's gonna be some space below that. That's what I'm gonna use for the wires. So things like that, and you should be good to go. It's just a matter of then just soldering up the connections. So I'm still not done with the left rail, so I just thought I'll give you this tip while I was soldering this piece of connection. Okay, as you can see, the black left rail wire is soldered to the black wire of the module, and the wire is going to pass over the speaker from side of this notch, the other notch, and into this particular opening, so that they do not touch with the flywheel, and as well as they will be nicely tucked in here, or some of the wires will go here. For example, the motor wires are going to be tucked in this particular space below the module, like that. So there's going to be space here. We have this orange and gray wire already shortened and just right enough length so that they uh, kind of curl around and fit in here. And I'm just gonna loosen up the motor wires from here, right here, and solder these up first, and then the power, and then we are gonna finally solder up the lights. So I'm gonna power up everything all the way to right rail power and the motor wires, and leave the lights for the last. So let's solder up everything else. Okay, here we have it. Um, all the wires except the lights are connected. As you can see, this part of the shell and the board has come loose. I've been dislodging each of the wires and soldering it up here. I've loosely kind of put some tapes around here. We'll look for a more permanent solution later on, once we know that the fit is perfect and the shell is closing, and then we can just have more permanent taping here. But as you can see, it looks pretty neat so far, except for the 3 hanging wires, which we're gonna wire up now. And once we have these wires also connected, the install will be complete. And as you can see, this is a very straightforward. Just need to keep few things in mind, especially as I mentioned before, trying to make sure how to fit everything inside the locomotive, and that's about it. So let's we already tested the wires, so let's just wire up the lights and see if the shell would close. So finally we have everything wired, including the lights. Here is the DCC light board, that's of no use anymore. So what we have done is, as explained earlier, the white wire was soldered to the red wire of the front, the blue wire was soldered to the black wire on the front light. Similarly, the rear black wire was also soldered to the blue, and the rear red wire was soldered to the yellow. So with that, we complete this installation. Let's try to see if the shell closes and give it a test run and see how it works. Okay, so I tried to test fit the shell and it will not fit, and as it turns out, there is this piece underneath the cab which kind of goes in this slot, and that's where the speaker was. So it was a little bit miscalculated, and that's where now you can see the importance of planning the install at the beginning, which obviously we made a mistake here. So I'm gonna the other option is to remove this weight here, and it's got 2 screws here, and once I remove this top part, the speaker should be able to fit right just nicely over here. So let's just do that and see if that will fit. As you can see, I've already disassembled the whole thing, and just gonna rearrange everything again. And another thing that I forgot to mention was that I'm glad that it kind of came pre-wired with the LEDs and not the typical bulbs. So that kind of made it a bit easier to install. So, well, let's remove the weight and put the speaker in instead, and see if the shell will fit. Okay, we finally have it. Um, so I had to shave off the little plastic that was projecting here, that was holding the light board at this notch. So after getting rid of that, we have more vertical clearance, and I'm able to place the module. And after removing the weight, I can even place the speaker. And I've tried to close the shell, and it closes nicely. So, uh, so again, there are a lot of changes with respect to positioning of the module, and that is probably the most critical part when doing the install. Uh, just joining the 7 wires is the easiest part, and uh, and that's it. I guess and that completes the installation. So in the end, just want to say that installing a LocoFi module in a DCC ready or a simple DC or even a steam locomotive, anything, it's really easy. The only difficult part is planning it out and how you're gonna actually fit the module. It's possible, you can fit it. It just you need to plan it out, like how the wires are gonna be routed, so that there is no issues when trying to put the shell back on and you find out that it doesn't close. So there you go, there you have it, and thank you so much for watching.